Hi there, John Wilkinson again and History Made Easier again. This video is going to take a look at Hitler's rise to power. And we don't look too far from the man himself. He had help from others, but Hitler was the most important factor in Hitler's and the Nazi Party's rise to power. So it's on Hitler that I'm going to focus. Now, I've talked about Hitler before in some of these videos, and I really do get worried that I might come over as something of a fan. I'm not, believe you me. I'm fully aware of just how awful Hitler's time in power really was. It was one of the darkest episodes in history, without doubt. I'm not a fan. But we are historians, and we have to analyse things accurately. And I think we have to give an awful lot of credit to Hitler in any explanation of his rise to power. I'm going to focus on a number of aspects. The first, I'm going to look at Hitler's vision. It will begin, of course, with the tearing up of the Treaty of Versailles. Always going to be popular with Germans. The hated Treaty of Versailles. Hitler hated that, as did almost all Germans. And Hitler, more than others, really came across as the one who really was going to tear up that treaty. So, the Treaty of Versailles and ridding Germany of the impositions of the Treaty of Versailles was a fundamentally important part of his vision. I think so was making Germany great again. Remind you of anybody? This was part of his vision that was very attractive. The Treaty of Versailles and getting rid of the Treaty of Versailles was part of that, making Germany great again. So was uniting all Germans in one Reich, and so was Lebensraum. Parcel all that together, and you have another key fundamental part of Hitler's vision. And then I think, though there are other things we could include, I would go for making a racially pure Germany as a fundamental part of his vision. So Hitler was a visionary, and it excited Germans. More and more and more of them. We can't get away from that. Then I would go to the fact that Hitler was plain clever. He was one of the most astute politicians I think there has ever been. He saw the opportunities better than anybody else. I would go first. I would point to Mein Kampf. What a clever piece of work that was, and what a clever title it was. Mein Kampf, my struggle. Because what he did in that awful book, I have not read it, but every account I have read of Mein Kampf describes it as the most appalling piece of writing. But by identifying his struggle with Germany's struggle, it was a masterstroke. Very, very clever piece of politics. I think he was clever to campaign for the presidency. He knew he had only an outside chance of winning the presidency. But by campaigning for it, he again, I say again because we would go back to 1923 and his trial, he again put himself on a national platform and showed himself to the German people as a serious contender, if not for the presidency, then for the chancellorship. So I think that was a clever move. I think, although you wouldn't give him all this credit, but I think targeting different voters in the way that the Nazi Party did, very, very clever politics. And I think, and again, you wouldn't give him all the credit for this, but the day of Potsdam, that was just a masterstroke of propaganda, showing Hitler to be humble. Yes, humble. Showing Hitler to be a statesman, linking Hitler with the old order. You must read about the day of Potsdam. An incredible, as I said, an incredible piece of propaganda. So he was a clever politician too. He was also brave. We have to say that. An incredibly brave politician in many different ways. He had a brave war record. Can't take that away from it. He was a brave soldier. He was brave, though in this case foolish, in the Munich beer hall putsch. He led from the front. The man standing next to him was shot dead. He was linked arms with him. He was shot dead. And he led from the front. Very brave, very brave. I think the presidential campaign was brave too. He could have come out of that looking very foolish, but he didn't. And although it was thuggery, although it was bloody murder, he did show bravery. He led from the front again with the Knight of the Long Knives. So he was, no matter what else we think of him, he was a brave politician. Have to give credit to that. He was also determined, very determined. He personally recovered, and he made sure his party recovered from the disaster of the Munich beer hall putsch. He held the party together. He built the party up into the most incredible electoral machine the world had ever seen. Second to none that we had ever seen to that point. And I don't think many would beat it thereafter. An incredibly successful electoral machine. I discount the argument that the Nazis never won an election. You can't win an election under proportional representation. But they were by far the biggest party. That was an incredible success, and the determination in building that party up, we just have to give credit to that. And the determination, through electoral setbacks, state elections as well as federal elections, incredibly determined. And I think at the end of this rise to power, where Hitler held out with pressure mounting, he held out determined to only accept the chancellorship. Even when he must have been at least tempted to accept von Pappen's first offer of vice chancellorship. The determination was there throughout. There's also a ruthlessness that's there, of course. He was ruthless in seizing control of the party. Very, very much so. He was ruthless in the way he used violence in order to quash opposition, particularly socialist, communist opposition. And he was ruthless in maintaining control of the party with the Night of the Long Knives. Utterly ruthless. And finally, I would say he was also lucky. He was lucky that the Great Depression came along. There is no doubt that despite all that incredible organisation of the party, the Nazis only gained votes as the German economy plummeted again. No doubt about that. So he was lucky with the Great Depression. And I think he was also lucky with the way in which the elites from the start fought against the Weimar Democratic Republic, right through to the period of presidential government, where eventually the elites, by their infighting amongst themselves, von Papen at the heart of it again, and Schleicher, really, manoeuvring behind each other's backs. It was that really opened the door for Hitler and the chancellorship. So we have a number of factors there. The vision, the plain astuteness, cleverness of Hitler, his bravery as a man and a politician, his determination, his ruthlessness, and a bit of luck. I think you put them together and you explain Hitler's rise to power. So, as always, I hope that was useful for you. As always, I thank you for listening, and I remind you to check out my History Made Easier website. Cheers.